I just realized it's been ages since I did a vlog. When I quit doing vlogs on account of it wasn't turning into a monetizable channel, um, I didn't intend to never vlog again because one of the other purposes of this channel, and maybe the more important one, is to look back myself over time. But, me. I started intermittent fasting on top of my usual eating properly, and just choosing not to eat 12 or more hours before breakfast was the trick to allow me to get back down to a healthy weight. So that's pretty cool. I'm still able to, I can stop and have a donut more often than I can afford to. So, I could put a little sugar. I can bake some cookies. It's nice. Another major change. Lost about 175 pounds more on top of that by changing the household configuration. It's just me and the dogs now. The parrot was rehomed in spring, and since I last vlogged, a lot of pets have died of old age. So what I've got right now is two hairless dogs and myself in the house, and the other Homo sapiens has been rehomed as well, to put it nicely. Don't really want to talk about that, but it's nice to have my place back. It's nice to have a proper desk. It's nice to be able to lay out work and leave it laid out. It's nice to be able to just do as I choose to do. My house was not being shared with me. I shared my house and it got taken over. And by dint of a disturbingly wide variety of offensive moves, I was being driven out. The filth, I couldn't keep up. I mean, it was so dirty. No, I don't want to rehash this. So, yeah, I am incredibly happy to have my home back. I have no source of income at the moment, and this is a great worry. I've been applying for disability income because I absolutely positively am disabled. I always was. Now I am demonstrably disabled, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to qualify. I am still waiting to find out. A lot of times, in order to qualify, you need to be so disabled you need to hire a nurse to wipe yourself after you go to the bathroom, or equivalent activities. I just realized you've got these darn cables in your face. I'm terribly sorry about that. Is that better? What you're seeing here is a shelving system and the stovepipe for my room heater, which is natural gas, and has a beautiful little flame. And I put a little shriney on top there, some nice things. And then that's the kitchen in through here where I've got a tomato plant growing. And rather than sleeping in the attic, which was getting severely claustrophobic, it was getting to the point where every time I woke up in the night, which happens a lot, I would have a moment of panic that I'd have to lay there and breathe it out just because of how close the roof was. And I couldn't face going back up there again this year. And I'd promised myself last year I wouldn't. So what I did was I had an old Victorian iron bedstead. It might be Edwardian. Very flippin' old. I mean, handmade, okay? Hand cast and hand wrought iron. And this from like Quebec. And this bedstead's been laying out in my yard, just wasted junk. Eventually it was going to get carted off to the iron guy, but it was just something about it was so cheap and junky. You like, it was cheap and bent, and you wouldn't really think, but there was something poetic about it, and I don't really know what it was. There was just something about this bed that said, I have grace yet, I have life yet. And so when I moved back into the house from the bus, which in fact I pretty much was living in the bus. The only time I came in was in winter when it got too cold. And it was hard, and I kept getting in trouble. And I wonder now if maybe it was the spouse making the phone calls to the city. I mean, I just don't know anything anymore. I don't know up from down. And I'm tired of caring. Tired of worrying about it. I'm glad to have my home back. Let the chips fall where they may. Which is a phrase I really got to understand when I was chopping wood in order to keep myself warm living in a bus. And I don't resent the time spent in the bus. It was fun in its own way. I just imagined that there was something else outside those windows. I just closed my eyes and imagined that there was something better outside the windows, and that, tomorrow I'd get to go out and see it. And now what I'm thinking is that the bus has served its most important purpose. And what I need to do is any further little things to make it nice and tight and nice, and then see what I can get for it, and sink that into a savings account against emergency dog surgery. Put some of it towards, actually, I don't need money to do it. A lot of the things that are in the bus that I don't want to sell with it can be installed onto the trailer, allowing me to have a more comfortable and longer season trailer. And if I do things correctly, my smart car and my trailer can take me places that I just can't afford to go in a bus. So that is the plan with the bus, is to say, yeah, okay, unless my fortunes change between now and next summer, while it just sits in the yard, I'm going to work towards that. And it's sad and it's sweet. And I knew it complete when I wore a younger man's clothes. Sorry, this thing where I'll hear a line from lyrics and I'll just want to hear the rest of the song. It's the funniest thing. It's probably not that unusual. So the bus has done me a lot of good, and I don't think I've done it any harm. And mayhaps it will get me more than I spent. At any rate, get me back the money that I spent and put me in a place where I could do something. I've done my budget and I've worked out what it takes to live, and I really don't know where I'm going to find that on my own. So wish with me. What we need is, universal basic income now. That's what we really need, because then it wouldn't be an issue of applying and qualifying. It would have been there all along, and I would have left a long time ago, and I'd be so much less traumatized now. And possibly even healthier. It's really hard to say. I am fighting my way back to health. I was able to get the kayak in the water. The thing the city did that made the kayak possible for me was they put in a small boat ramp for small kayaks like mine, and I'm now able to back my bicycle trailer with the kayak on it up to the water and then float it off just like you would a large boat, meaning that the only time I ever have to pick up that kayak is spring and fall, when I move it on and off the trailer, or like for storage I put it upside down. I won't always have the boat to store it under, but when the bus is gone, I have some canopy things I'm going to be messing with. I was thinking, maybe some of the money from the bus will pay for a cheap hot tent that I could put the wood stove in. That would be really, really fun. So we got all kinds of ideas, and the point of fact is, while my smart car can't haul much stuff, it can haul me and two dogs the heck out of winter, potentially. One of the problems there with the whole idea of getting out of winter is I can't expect my car to make it over the mountains if there's any kind of snow up there. And as far as I know, that's pretty much November to March, covering the entire period of time when I would want to sneak out to the coast. I mean, maybe she could do it without a trailer, but not with a trailer, uphill and ice. Okay, because all by herself uphill on ice, she can't get through our driveway. I had to sprinkle ashes to get her up, and that's with the best winter tires she can have. It is what it is. She's a lightweight. The trailer won't help. It will add more weight than it will help, and you're only allowed 30 pounds on the tongue. Plus, I tend to load the back of the car with all of my gear too. All my heavy gear goes in the back of the car because, actually, it's going to be going in the passenger side because one of the dogs has to go in the back of the car because she is unable to stay safe in the seat. So I have to make a safe little compartment for her. Yeah, Wow, I like daydreaming about that. I really do. Um, my voice isn't nearly masculine enough to stop people from misgendering me. I mean, I'm sorry. Does this look feminine to you? Do I look all out of feminine? Do I really? Maybe a little gay, but. Oh, and I'm loving this shirt. Whee! Uncle Bob, where's my pipe? I've got one. Hang on a minute. This will be funny. There you go. Watch this, mates. I can't hold this one in my teeth, but this one's nicotine vape for when I'm staying off of the weed. Um, and it's craving, and the craving is annoying me. A little puff of that, and the craving will go away, and I can go for a few more hours before I start craving weed again. My theory is that there's a little bit of nicotine in the weed, because it's not necessarily getting high that I'm craving. I only crave that when I'm in pain or anxiety, you know? So, I've been in a lot of pain. My shoulder's acting up real bad. I've asked my doctor to see if we can get me a diagnosis for what I think it is or figure out what it really is. I'm pretty confident what it is, and from what I've been able to read, a diagnosis is all they're going to be able to give me. There's a faint chance that a physiotherapist would give me a brochure on exercise to do for it. And that's okay, though, because it's going to work towards the whole picture of, guys, I'm not a lying narcissist trying to game the system. I really am disabled. I was watching a video on narcissists, and I realized why I so often get treated the way I do. I actually come across as a narcissist as a result of my autistic tendencies, because I can become mind blind to the others in the room. I do have empathy, and I can tune in, but I also have a tendency to just sort of tune out, or just I become overwhelmed. Conversation can overwhelm me very easily. If I don't feel comfortable with you, or there's more than one of you, the conversation will now be running on a kind of autopilot where my goal is to keep everybody laughing or something, just to make everybody happy, just to entertain. And I think I accidentally hit on a way of awkward laughter as laughing, rather than genuine humor or something. Sometimes people find me hilarious. Other times they just don't get it. But the upshot is that I often come across like I don't care or like I want to dominate the room. That happens a lot. Or like I think I know more or have more rights or am entitled in some way. And it's a damn shame, really, because it's not where my head is at. It's what it looks like. I can see that now, but it's not where my head is at. And I have no idea what to do about that except stop trying. And that's never really been a permanent solution for me. So I think what I'm really doing right now is taking time to heal. The last 17 years has been a collective rough patch. I've often said to the ghosts in my head, and just for the record, I don't have auditory hallucinations. I have leftover pieces of things that have been said to me in the past, okay? And they drift back up, often in the voice of the person who said it. And these aren't voices in my head, these are memories. These are traumatic trigger memories. This is what triggering is. It's like PTSD, and it's like these people come back and boo. By the way, have you considered this? And it causes me a great deal of anxiety. And at any rate, I get these voices popping up and gaslighting the hell out of me. it can be challenging because I have to rake over my memory. And I lost all my friends between a combination of looking like a narcissist 80% of the 85% of the time and having gone through such a severe illness that made me look lazy as well. Because, you know, the thing that happened with my cancer was that first I got fat, then I got tired. So what people witnessed was someone who was fat and lazy. You know, but I was working hard. It's just that I was always exhausted. And so I wasn't moving with any kind of vivacity or dynamism. I mean, you know, extra 50 pounds does make it a little harder. You know, strap 50 pounds on a soldier and measure the speed at which he runs. I think it changes a little versus when he's not wearing 50 pounds. But, yeah, I don't think anyone ever drew close to me because of that apparent narcissistic display. And yeah, neither would I. I mean, what are you going to do, you know? But you know, you walk around telling people, oh, I'm misunderstood. Well, that's that's exactly what a narcissist would say. I really haven't figured out a way through this, and I don't think I need to. I'm not that miserable in my own company. I'm miserable when I talk about this kind of thing, but I really have a lot of fun with this kind of thing. I mean, this is my thing. It's what's making me happy. I bought 4 bags of, like, really nasty wool. This wool's been washed twice and rinsed thoroughly, and it still looks pretty messy. You know, it's kind of gross, but I'm working it. I'm doing the work. I'm getting it clean. And one of the bags that I bought, see, the place is going out of business, and I thought, well, you know, it's worth putting it on the credit card and getting a pile of wool so that I'll be good for at least a year while I sort out where to find fleeces again. So when I went in and she's like $10 a bag, and I'm like, ah. And then there was one where it was priced at $3 per 100 grams. And so she knew what the size was. Nobody had bought any yet. And she priced it out, and it was a 1/10 of the price of that really nice fleece I got from Minnesota. And while it had a lot more vegetable matter in it, it was otherwise just as nice as the fleece I got from Minnesota. And it's just absolutely wonderful, beautiful, beautiful floof noodles here. And actually what I did was I blended it with red. This one's got a little extreme, a little too much. I kind of like it better when it's this one's perfect. It's kind of well distributed. And then I want to go where I'm going from the none to the sum to the lots, back to the sum to the none as I knit or as I spin, so that my yarn variegates. And I've been spinning on that one, but I put it away. I put it away because I've got to finish the loom. I'm stringing up my loom in order to, you know, once the loom is all tied up and tight and some weaving is done, then I can bring the mattress down from the attic and make this bed a lot more comfortable. But the loom's giving me trouble, so I keep taking a break. And so instead, I was like, you know, I really do want to know what that $10 a bag wool looks like, you know, when you clean it up. So, and of course, some of that got, well, actually, I spun a little bit by hand and left it at that. And the only problem I have is there's not enough time in the day to do it all. So that's a good problem to have. I've been walking the dog. I've got my health back in a lot of ways. I've got a lot of fitness back. I've had days where I could take the stairs 2 at a time, where I'm just bouncing around, where I'm dancing, you know, and I've been walking the dog. But at the same time, for instance, my hernia has doubled in size, and it frequently causes me pain and grief. So, that's a darn shame. It's just back and forth, you know, my shoulder. It's causing me grief. And then there's the cold thing. If I allow and it's just certain parts of my body, my lips, my fingers, and my toes, and my throat. That's it. Possibly my tongue? I don't think so. And I don't think my throat really still has a big problem. Well, I've never really enjoyed cold beverages, so I haven't really put it through its paces. But my fingers and toes still have the problem. This I am sure of. And what's happening is that if I'm not careful in the wintertime, even like pulling food out of the freezer or just opening the door to let the dogs out with my hand on the cold handle is enough to do it. When I come away, it feels like hot needles being jabbed into my fingers. And then after that subsides, it tingles. And then after that, I start noticing that I'm having a harder time feeling the texture in tiny things. That I'm having trouble, like that just, and what it is peripheral nerve damage, and it can heal. I've had it much worse, but it's adding to my concerns. So I'm only walking the dog when it's warm enough that I'm not going to get any part of me chilled. And it's been creating some challenges for me as well. Between the hernia and the cold, I'm really not made, in the cold intolerance, I'm really not made for this climate anymore. Never really was. Now I'm really not, but I really can't get out. I've thought and thought and thought and have not figured out a way that I could possibly relocate to any place where the temperature would not dip below -10. I cannot for the life of me. Unless I can live in the West Edmonton Mall, perhaps. I used to have a daydream about covering my entire yard in a coverall dome. Those big plastic domes? But like clear so that the sunlight came through. And my chimney popping up through the middle of it, because... And then the birds could come in the summer and could live there all winter, and we could have like just the same yard with the trees and everything, but always summer. Yeah, the things you could do if you only had money. Money, money, money. I hate money though, and money hates me. Trust me, we don't get along, and we part quickly. It's hard to get together, and we separate real fast. We don't like each other. I think that's a long enough vlog. I think we've had a good look around. Oh, you want to? Yeah, let's tour the place briefly. Let me show you how it looks. That bed. I just stuck my foot into the bin where I've been letting all of the little bits of gray and stuff, grass and stuff, and hay. Grass and hay is gray? Oh, it's not. It's brown. Anyway. There's the loom I'm working on, and it's on wheels, so I can wheel it away in between these two, in front of the mirror, in front of the window, or I can also wheel it up against the wall by these shelves and walk in front of it. The TV moves inside the wall and swings around to the kitchen, and then here you can see the bed a little bit. Hang on. Can you see that? Isn't that kind of cool? Yeah. And then I've got wooden doweling that I stuck in the posts. These probably had finials, and I replaced it with the doweling and untied string, and I just hung all this fabric on it. And it's wonderful. And yeah, here is the fireplace. It's on a thermostat, so it comes on, it goes off, comes on, it goes off. And that's the Grand Divan, and the dogs love it, and so do I. Whoops, where are we at? Yeah, okay, you get the general. And then we'll come into the kitchen. We've got on the other side of the shelf wall, you can see the TV. It can swing back out, serve the table. The chair belonging here is currently by the loom temporarily, because that's the back of the loom. And we got the stove, and we got all of the stuff. And the kitchen needs $20,000, so let's not look at it. is not getting $20,000. It's going to continue to need it, so we don't want to look at it.